Breaking news. So, Jagex released today the Winter Summit for 2022, and let me tell you, there is a lot of cool and very interesting ideas. I'm going to go over them quickly, and then we're going to be talking about the last one, which is a new skill for old school RuneScape. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the roadmap up on screen right now. So here is what they have proposed so far. So for January 11th, very soon, they're going to be releasing the Secrets of the North quest, which is going to be a new master level quest, I believe, or maybe, yeah, I think it's a master level quest, which we don't know too much about really, but that's coming very soon, January 11th. So that's great to look forward to. RIP the quest cape, I guess. The next one is the official accounts builds, which is a very interesting update, honestly. Pretty much you can set your account to permanently pretty much be one defense, so you can't mess it up. All different types of accounts that they went over. I think this is an update that they should have pretty much added a long time ago, but now it's going to have support, and that says it's going to be coming early 2023. Then we have the Bounty Hunter rework, going to be in the spring of 2023. Not too much to really say about that. One thing they did say though is that the rewards from it won't be tradable, so this might make less bots go there, which is interesting. Then we have mid 2023 the Forestry of the Way update, which is going to be like a rework almost of the woodcutting skill. Not too much was really said about that either. There's going to be foxes, and one really cool thing about it though is, for example, when you're chopping a yew tree beside somebody, they can't chop it down before you. That's kind of what I got from that, but it looks like there's going to be a lot added to the woodcutting skill, which is very exciting because woodcutting is a very slow skill, and I definitely think it needs a rework. They also said that the lumberjack outfit is going to be able to be obtained from this, which is good because a lot of people do not like doing the whatever that is even called, the Mauritania swamp temple tracking thing. So you can get the woodcutting outfit from this, which is good. Then at the end, they were talking about Desert Treasure 2. That's going to be in the summer of 2023, and this is going to be a Grandmaster quest, which you're going to have to go ahead and take on 4 bosses, which are going to be replayable. And they said they're going to be solo bosses, so I'm hoping they're kind of similar to maybe something like Zulrah, where you can camp them, and they might be just really good bosses to go ahead and do overall. Next on the list is To Be Determined, and they want to introduce a new skill to old school RuneScape, which this has been tried to do so many times in the past, but they recently changed the voting where it only needs 70% instead of a 75% to pass, so this could pass. I recently put a poll on my community tab, so Jagex wants to add a new skill. What do you all think? 51% of people said yes. Only 16% of people said no, and then the other 33% said depends on what it is, which is interesting, right? So people that, like me, for example, I'm yes, but I'm also kind of depends what it is. I do want a new skill to be added to the game, but I don't want it to be something that will just be, that won't really make sense or have a purpose, right? Something like divination, for example, wouldn't, or summoning, I know a lot of people wouldn't want in the game, and it wouldn't make sense as much. I mean, it could be interesting, but something new like sailing or artisan would be awesome to add to the game, and I'm really curious to see what they're going to come up with because it's going to be different, and I'm hoping that most of the community will vote yes, but we'll have to see. The good thing about it though is it kind of has this way of passing. So first of all, it has to get 70% of the votes that they do want a new skill in the game, and then that will be the green light pass. Then there's going to be a community decision pretty much, and then there's going to be skill pitches, so the top different concepts will go into there. Then there's going to be refinement, which is going to definitely take a very long time to get the skill right, and then at that point they're going to be locking in the skill. For example, we'll use sailing. Say sailing is the one that is chosen, it'll be locked in, and then they're going to have open betas where we can try it, and if it's not liked, they will kind of just tweak it and fix it until the community really likes it. So if it's just a full-on not 70% yes, then this whole idea will probably be scrapped for now, but it seems like they really want to push a new skill into the game, and I think for the long-term success of the game, that's probably the right decision. Alright, so I just want to go over all of the skills that they've tried to add in the game in the past, right? So if we go ahead and start with just the basic ones from pre-EOC, we've got Dungeoneering and we have Summoning. Those are probably the only two realistic ones. It's not like they're going to add Invention or anything. So if we'll start with Summoning. Summoning is a skill pretty much where you go ahead and summon other creatures. You need to collect charms in order to do this, and you pretty much make pouches that will make summoning familiars, and then in order to do that, it just takes a long process. And the thing about it is these summoning familiars are very overpowered. They did make the game very laggy because everyone would pretty much be walking around with pets. I feel like this would almost devalue pets in a way, because most people would just be using summoning familiars, right? It's not like you're gonna have your Zulrah pet following you and then your Steel Titan pet following you around. It just doesn't really make sense for the old school game mode. And a lot of people don't want this because they're very overpowered. Things like the Pack Yak would allow you to pretty much stay at Bandos or any boss for extremely long time and even send things to the bank. And then we have other things like the Steel Titan, which would just do tons and tons of damage. Just really broken, really. I can see why it was good in the past, like RuneScape 2 or whatever. It was a good update back in the day, but I don't think it will work for old school. Then we have something like Dungeoneering, which I'm personally all for Dungeoneering, but at the same time with Dungeoneering, they could almost remake that into a mini game and have something like that. We already do have like the Gauntlet, Corrupted Gauntlet, so we don't really need Dungeoneering, and we already have like the Rapier and tons of the rewards from Dungeoneering. They could make it a mini game. I know a lot of people would like it as a mini game rather than a skill itself, and then maybe balance or change out the rewards a little bit, and it could work out as a mini game in the future. But those were the pre-EOC skills. Now, let's talk about some of the skills that they've already announced for old school that didn't pass. So we have Artisan, which I was personally all for Artisan. Artisan was pretty much Slayer for skilling. So you'd go to an Artisan master, you'd walk up to him, and he would say, bring me, for example, I don't know how exactly it was going to work, but he would say, like, bring me 100 blue dragonhide bodies, and you'd have to go ahead and craft them and bring them to him, and then you'd get Artisan experience. So very similar to Slayer, but for skilling. I think this would be really challenging for Ironman, right? Because you'd have to go ahead and do things you wouldn't normally do just to train Artisan. You'd go ahead and train all of your other skills at the same time, and some of the rewards for this could be, you know, like a chisel and a hammer put together or something like that. I don't know exactly what the rewards were, but it did seem like a cool skill overall, and it would help you train lots of other skills. It would be good for the economy too. Another one was warding. The thing about warding was it wasn't really well thought out, in my personal opinion. They wanted to make warding a skill where you could craft magical armor, right? Because their idea was you could smith melee armor, you could craft range armor, and then with warding you could make magical armor. I just don't think it's really necessary. We have things like Aram's, Ancestral, and Mystic, so I don't know what you could craft that would be better than Aram's, but not too overpowered. I just didn't really like the whole idea of it, but who knows, it could get introduced into the game. But the last one that the community really wanted was sailing. Now, I personally think sailing is a really great skill. With sailing, you could go ahead and sail to new areas. I don't know if you'd have to maybe make a ship or construct a boat, which could use other skills. I do not know, but I think it would be really cool if you had to go make a boat. Maybe the quest, for example, could be you making your starter boat or whatever and sailing to a new place. And pretty much with sailing, at different levels of sailing, you could unlock new areas where you could go, right? You could train your skills here. You could, you know, maybe get a new hunting area. You could maybe find some new trees for wood cutting. I think sailing is a cool idea because it would open the game so much. They could involve so many different quest lines and storylines. For example, with Zaya, right? Imagine if Zaya required like 60 sailing in order to get there, right? And then you wouldn't have access to Zaya without sailing. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna do this, but I'm saying they could make a new Zaya, quote unquote, but you would need a sailing level to get there. And I feel like at the lower levels, you could get like basic islands that might have some trees, which would be more private or whatever, or a new mining spot, whatever they want to work, or even like a place where you can kill new Slayer creatures. Like, they could have so much content with sailing, and I would personally be really into sailing. Now, I don't know how exactly you would train the skill, right? Maybe you would sail to different islands and make boats, and that would be a way you could gain XP. I just don't see how you could gain a lot of XP, right? Because you sail to an island, and then the reward is getting to the island and having all this other stuff. I don't know how you would gain sailing XP on the island, but it could be worked out. I think it's a great idea, but we'll see. Now, I'm really curious to see what Jagex comes up with and the community comes up with for a new pitch. Now, there's so many ideas, and I feel like when they mention a new skill, people like diehard fans of dungeoneering or summoning just are like, bring that back, bring this back, or sailing, bring that. They don't really think of a new idea that could be introduced into the game. Now, I just maxed my Ironman account, and I would personally be very happy if they added a new skill so I could get another 99 on this account. I think it would be a blast and a fun journey. Plus, I also remember from back in the day when a new skill came out, everyone was just racing for the leaderboards. I would probably take like a week off of work and just no-life the hell out of the new skill. But I think for it to pass, it would have to have a purpose in the game, right? It couldn't just be something like that wouldn't really add any benefit to the game at all, right? It would have to have a purpose. It would have to be fun. That is something that would get a lot of new players to come to the game, maybe like old players that want to come back. I'm going to use dungeoneering as an example, right? Because back in the day, if you did everything in RuneScape, there wasn't really much challenge back in the day, and then dungeoneering came out, and it just was totally different. A new experience where you raided dungeons together, used all of the skills together. I think dungeoneering is a really good example because it put everything into a skill that makes it fun, challenging, and also entertaining and very new, and it attracted a lot of new players back in the day, right? If they added, say, fire making, for example, today, I don't think you'd get a lot of players coming onto the game to do it, right? It has to have a purpose in the game and be really fun and entertaining. I think sailing could work because that would just be so much content that they could build on forever with sailing. They could even maybe make the first 120 skill in old school. Now, I don't know if that would ever pass a poll or work, but I feel like sailing would be a cool option because it would just be content that they could make forever, right? They could always make new islands that you could go ahead and sail out to. Maybe you need a certain ship to sail out to these islands. The seas might be a little rough or whatever, and I think that's kind of the idea they could do. Like, I could think of any skill on this game and sailing could benefit, right? Even construction. Maybe you can go ahead and build a different house on this random island or whatever that could have better things than your regular POH. You know what I mean? They could add new monsters, they could add new trees, mining areas, slayer creatures, like the list goes on, right? You could even make a brand new rune that you could only craft on a certain island. Like, I don't know, I'm just kind of throwing random ideas out here, just whole new towns that you could go ahead and explore. I think that's kind of where I'm leaning towards now. I really like the idea of sailing being into the game. But yeah, anyways, I really am hoping that this does pass a poll. I think, like I said, to keep the game forever, it does need a new skill, but it does need to have a purpose. It can't just be something that won't make sense. It can't be something that's too overpowered either. I think it just has to make sense, and I do feel like this will pass because that's kind of where the game is leading now, right? If we don't make any new content into the game, it will slowly die out, right? I mean, they could add new raids, they could add new things and stuff, right? But for us maxed players, I think somebody put out a tweet and there's like 34,000 maxed accounts now, right? And you can only PVM and skill for so long, right? Until you do eventually get burnt out of the game. Tons of people make other accounts, different Ironmans, ultimate Ironmans, right? To keep the refreshing part of the game active. But a new skill would be just massive, man. And I really hope this does pass, but it is what it is. If it doesn't, I'm sure Jagex will come up with a lot of other great ideas. Overall, I'm really excited for 2023 to see what RuneScape does. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. If you went ahead and watched the whole video, comment sailing ? Down below. Thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya later.